Hey folks, I'm Nick Hawks with Paleo Treats here for part 3 of 4 in the Paleo versus Keto series. This one, part 3, is all about what is keto. We got a lot of people walk into the store saying, hey, I'm doing keto. A lot of times they don't really know what they're doing. So I figured we'd do these videos about what paleo is, what keto is, and then how to put them together and supercharge it, which will be video number 4. But we're on number 3, which is what is keto. Keto is short for ketosis or ketogenic. Basically refers to your body burning ketones for fuel. The heck are ketones? Ketones are a clean burning fuel produced by your liver when your body runs out of carbohydrates. So the way to get into ketosis is to limit or severely reduce the number of carbohydrates you have. Why would you want to do this? Well, if you're epileptic, having too many carbs in and having plenty of ketones to burn seems to reduce the seizures that you have, and keto has long been used to treat epilepsy. You might also want to burn a little bit of fat. A lot of people have extra that they don't want, so they go to a keto diet because it is a fat-burning diet. And keto can make you, in some cases, feel better, look better, perform better, all that stuff. But those are pretty limited cases. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So what kind of foods might you eat on the keto diet? Bacon, cheese, avocados, all real high-fat foods. What is common on this is that people come in and say, oh, I'm eating keto, I'm eating a lot of meat. Keto is not a meat-heavy diet. Keto is a fat-intensive diet. About 70% of your calories will come from fat. Only 10 to 20% come from protein, and the last little bit, 5 to 10%, depending on how much you're doing of everything else, comes from carbohydrates. So keto is really high fat. It's higher fat than most people like. Usually the first couple days are like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm eating all the bacon and avocados and cheese and dairy and the rest of it that I want. And then they realize, shit, it's really hard to eat that much fat on a consistent basis, especially if you're used to your old standard American diet. So you're eating ketones or eating lots of fat and limiting carbs so that your body starts to burn ketones. There's different parts of your body burn different things. Your brain can't burn fat directly. It has to burn either glucose or ketones. So if you run out of glucose because you're not having enough carbs, you burn ketones. And a lot of times when you go on the keto diet, or really when you decrease your carbs and you start burning more fat for fuel, you find that you're thinking a little bit clearer. You don't have that kind of mid-afternoon carb coma. So keto also goes into how much you eat. It's not just a diet of, oh, I'm going to eat a lot of fat. It's how much you eat and how often you eat if you're going to do it right. Because keto relies on your body kind of having this message that is an ancient message coming from 2 million years of evolution saying, hey, we don't have a lot of carbs to burn today. You're going to have to switch over and burn something else. You're going to have to burn fat. You're going to have to make ketones, and that's what we're going to run on. So the way that your body gets that message, one of the clear ways that your body can get that message is by you not eating as much, so you don't have excess fuel, just carbs floating around, and not eating as often, giving your guts time to rest, and also sending that signal to your body, hey, there's not new food coming in, you're going to have to start burning some of your fat stores, right? We typically can burn through our glycogen stores pretty quickly. Fat stores take a long time to go through. Okay, so how long does it take to get into ketosis? To get into just the simplest states of ketosis is anywhere from 3 to 7 days for most people. Could take you a little bit shorter, could take you a little bit longer. To get into a preferential fat burning state, that can take 3 to 6 months, depending on how much activity you're doing, depending on how serious you are about it. But ketosis in general, 3 to 7 days. How do you know you're in ketosis? We get a lot of people who walk in and say, oh, I'm keto, I'm in ketosis. The only way you know, they say, I feel like I'm, whatever, feeling keto. The only way to know if you're in ketosis is to test it. You can test it with blood, right? So you do a little pinprick on your finger. You can do it with breath. You can use the LEVL tester, which is what Lee and I and the crew here of Paleo Treats have used. LEVL's a company here in San Diego that makes really accurate breath testers. Or you can do it with urine. You can piss on a little strip and watch it change color, and that'll tell you whether you're not in ketosis. All of those have little different pros and cons, but the only way to know if you're in ketosis is to test. Now, what is keto? Speaking of testing, what does it mean? You get there, usually keto people will talk about having less than 50 grams of carbs per day, relax, super keto people, or less than 20 grams of carbs per day. That is a pretty sure way to get into and stay in a ketosis, is to stay under 20 grams of carbs per day, or 50, depending on kind of where your limit is. And again, the only way to know is to test. Other variations of keto are intermittent fasting and low carb. Low carb is generally 75, maybe as high as 150, depending on how often you're eating carbs, grams of carbs per day. And then intermittent fasting is another way of getting in ketosis without watching your carbs as much, because you're compressing your feeding window, your eating window, into anywhere from 4 to 8 hours per day. And if you do that, you're not eating for 16 hours, something like that, 20 hours sometimes, your body will go into ketosis much more often, much more readily, and then you have much more flexibility when it comes to what you actually eat when you get down to eating. But that's a little bit different. We'll talk about that in the next segment, supercharging paleo and keto. I'll finish up on common keto myths and mistakes. Like I said, we get lots of people walking in telling us they're keto or asking questions about keto. The number one thing is, oh, I'm keto, I can't have any sugar. That is BS, okay? You can have, even if you're strict keto, up to 20 grams of carbs per day. If you are doing intermittent fasting, you're doing time-restricted eating, that number can go up and still keep you in ketosis. You're totally fine eating a little bit of sugar, whether that's from natural food sources, which is what we recommend, like honey, or if you're desperate and don't have any problems with erythritol or stevia or xylitol, you can have a little bit of those, avoid the grams of sugar, but still have the side effects and the kind of sweetness of sugar. As a little piece of proof, Lee and I had the LEVL device here in the store. We had that for about a month and a half, I think, last year. And we were testing on that thing a couple times a day. We were always in ketosis. We were eating 2 to 3 paleo treats a day. Our lowest paleo treat is the Bandito. It's got 7 grams of sugar. We would have Banditos, Mustangs. Lee has a cacao now every night. Cacao now, I think, has 23 grams of sugar in it. We were in ketosis the whole time. How do I know that? Because we were testing. Why is that? We were compressing our feeding window and we're doing the supercharging stuff I'm going to talk about in video number 4. So keto is not a diet where you can never have sugar. Myth number 2, keto is the same thing as paleo. It's not. You're watching this series, so you're learning what the differences are. Remember, big picture, keto is a diet of macros. Paleo is a diet of ingredients. They're not the same thing. In some places, they're not even close. In some cases, they're very close. Myth number 3 is that you can stay on your standard American diet, breakfast, lunch, dinner, cereal, and have keto muffins and keto pancakes and keto, whatever it is, sandwiches, keto pasta, all of this stuff. You can keep your same diet that you're having on your standard American diet and just go keto. That is a recipe for disaster. That's setting you up for failure. Okay? If you're going to go keto and you have good reasons for doing it, go for it, but make sure you do keto, which is full on. 70% of your calories are coming from fat, very low 10%, 5 to 10% coming from carbs, anywhere from 10 to 20% coming from protein, so you're not doing high protein. Keto is a pretty restrictive diet. You can make it work for you. It's applicable to a few diseases, a few use cases where it works really well. For a lot of people, it's not really the right diet for them, although it's a good start on a healthier path. Okay, so that's the big overview of keto. That's kind of a deeper dive into what keto is. Remember to subscribe to the channel. We got one more video coming out on this paleo versus keto series. I'm really excited to share with you guys how to supercharge paleo and keto. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Ciao, ciao.